Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. Today we're going to continue our break from the Cthulhu mythos and venture back into the pandemic system as we play World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King Pandemic. For me, this game is a fun nostalgia trip since I played a lot of World of Warcraft, and my favorite expansion was Wrath of the Lich King. I really enjoyed the questing experience in that expansion where the Lich King would be there to harass you at every turn throughout your adventures in Northrend. And as you'll most likely see here, this game captures that feeling really well. Our objective in this game is to complete 3 quests around Northrend before we venture into Icecrown Citadel for the final confrontation with the Lich King himself. We lose if the Despair track gets all the way to the bottom, and I'll point that out when we take our first look at the board. First up, let's take a quick look at the Lich King, and we'll see and go through how he'll make our lives difficult. So here's the Lich King's mini. As you might be able to see, it's a mostly faithful recreation of the Lich King. I haven't bothered painting these minis yet because I have never really been into minis painting. But the way he'll make our lives miserable is if we quest or fight in the same region he's in, and we'll see where he's going to go when we move over to the board and finish setup, we'll take +1 damage on that. So that's the Lich King. Now who are we playing? Let's go ahead and go meet the team. Here's the first character that we're going to be playing today, Lady Jaina Proudmoore, the Archmage. You asked for it. Also, here's the Despair track that I was talking about earlier. We'll see this more when we meet our second character, but there's where the Despair track starts. When we get to the bottom of that track, and I'll point that out again when we meet our second character, that's when we lose the game. So here is Jaina's mini. Again, a pretty faithful recreation on the Archmage. Anyway, Jaina's special abilities are Teleport and Frost Armor. Teleport. As an action, she can move directly to any space up to 4 spaces away, limit once per turn. Frost Armor gives her plus shield when she fights. So, as one of the actions in the game, and I'll explain this a little bit more when we get into the actions, but the fight and quest actions both involve these special dice. So you can see they have fists and shields on them. Shields help us prevent damage taken when we do questing or fighting. And the fists are what we want to see when we're fighting or questing, so we can either damage monsters or progress. Anyway, Jaina starts off with 6 health, and we'll take a look at her backstory. Jaina Proudmoore is a powerful mage and a symbol to her people. After guiding refugees across the ocean to save them from the Scourge, Jaina attempted to broker peace with the Horde. Jaina travels to Northrend to protect the innocent, but also harbors the hope that her former friend and lover, Arthas, has not been entirely subsumed. And then Jaina starts... Where did she start? Valiant's Keep, I think? Yes. Jaina starts in Valiant's Keep, so I'll move her over to her starting space. And then that will do it for setting up Jaina. Now we'll drop down and meet our second hero. Here's our second hero, Lady Liadrin, the Blood Knight Matriarch. My blade burns with holy fire. And then as I mentioned the Despair track earlier, here's the bottom of the Despair track. So if our Despair track marker gets down here, we've lost the game. So we need to be very careful of that. Anyway, here's Lady Liadrin's mini. Then we'll take a look at her character card before I move her over to her starting space. Her special abilities are Indomitable and Lay on Hands. First, Indomitable. When a ghoul would be placed on your space or a connected space, you may suffer 1 damage to prevent that ghoul placement. And Lay on Hands. When any hero on your space or a connected space rests, they heal +1. So that will be very helpful, especially as we get busted up and we need to heal. If we can get Liadrin close to them, then we can... close to the hero, then we can heal that hero for a lot more. She starts off with 7 health, and we'll take a look at Lady Liadrin's backstory. Liadrin was the first of her kind to forcibly harness the holy light, sapping its power to protect her people. Redeemed by the light's grace, she now wields its wrath with righteous conviction. Uncompromising in the pursuit of justice, Liadrin has joined the invasion of Northrend to destroy the vile undead and seek retribution for the destruction of her homeland by the Lich King. And she starts in Dalaran. So we'll bring Liadrin over to Dalaran, the central city hub in Northrend. And then with that, we'll go meet our last hero. Here's our last hero, Sylvanas Windrunner, the Banshee Queen. My vengeance will be swift and merciless. There's what her mini looks like. We'll take her over to the board once we finish going through her character card. So her special abilities are Wailing Arrow and Will of the Forsaken. First up, we'll look at Wailing Arrow as an action. Fight on a connected space as if you were on that space. You do not suffer damage during this action, limit once per turn. Then Will of the Forsaken. During your own actions, when you play a fight or defend card, heal 1. So we'll be putting Sylvanas on Sniper Detail, most likely. The ability to fight from a space away is going to be very, very handy. But anyway, she starts off with 6 health. We'll take a look at her backstory. Formerly the Ranger General of the High Elven Kingdom of Quel'Thalas, Sylvanas Windrunner was murdered by Arthas and raised as an undead banshee as he destroyed her homeland. After breaking free of the Lich King's control, Sylvanas and her Forsaken followers are taking a personal vengeance against the one who cursed her. And she starts off in Vengeance Landing, so we'll bring her over not too far from the board. We'll eventually zoom out and we'll see where Jaina and Liadrin are starting the game. But anyway, if you remember when I played Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu back in the summer, each investigator actually had her own hand of cards. Here, all 3 of our heroes share a hand of cards. So we'll go ahead and take a look at those. Now, these are effects that you can do for free, essentially, or you can use them to contribute on questing spaces. You can contribute in the solo mode. We're playing the solo mode here. So you can contribute up to 1 card per hero you have on the quest space. And we'll see where those are when we move over to the board and finish setup. But anyway, first card we have up. I'll zoom this out so I can make it a little easier so I don't have to hold the card so far from the camera. First up we have a fight. So you get a +1 fist icon to any fight on your space, and it's got an axe icon, which I'll show you more of when we open up the quests. Next up, we have a defend, which has a shield icon on it. Prevent 2 damage to any hero on your space. Third up, there's another fight, so that's another plus fist. And a travel, which has got a boot icon on it. As a free action, move any hero on your space up to 2 spaces. So that's the hand of cards our heroes will have to work with. Now let's move over to the board and we'll see where everything is situated and we'll finish initial setup. Here's our first look at the board. You can see Sylvanas over here in Vengeance Landing, Lady Liadrin's up here in Dalaran, and Jaina's down here in Valiant's Keep. Now, you're probably noticing that there's supposed to be a citadel here around Icecrown Citadel. I'll put that up for a second, but the reason I'm not going to put it up here is because it's likely to block off a couple of spaces to the camera. So, actually, that's not too terribly bad. I thought it would block off the Argent Tournament and the Shadow Vault, but it actually doesn't block them off too badly. So I think we are going to go ahead and leave that there. So we will use the Icecrown Citadel, and plus, once we actually get to a point where we can get in there, that'll be a little. We'll actually change that out, so it'll be a little bit easier to get everything on there anyway. But with that, I think we're ready to go ahead and finish up setup. So we're going to draw 2 cards. The first one's going to get 3 ghouls, and the Lich King is going to go in that region. So if you look on the board, you can see that each region has a what in the world is the name of that helmet? I forget what it is, but anyway. So each region has a space for the Lich King to go on. So if we quest or fight in that region, as you remember, we'll be taking +1 damage from the Lich King's presence. But I'm getting ahead of myself on that, so let's take a look at where we're getting our first ghouls going. So our first zone is Kol Ramas. So Kol Ramas gets 3 ghouls. And each of these have 1 HP apiece, so 1 fist will be enough to kill them. But we do need to be careful as we're fighting, because if we don't kill everything on the space, we do get a counterattack. So that is something to be aware of. And then the Lich King actually goes into that purple space. So our next card also gets 3 ghouls on it. So our second card here is Amberpine Lodge, and I'm going to try to fix the lighting so I can read these a little better. So Amberpine Lodge goes there. Then we'll draw 3 more cards from the deck, and these will get 2 ghouls on them. So first up for 2 ghouls, the Temple City of Enkala, which is down here between the Vault of Archivon and Warsong Hold. Then we'll find Gundrak, which is potentially one of our quest spots, but I'm not sure where our actual quests are yet for today. And last up, Drachtharon Keep. So that's down here in Zoldrak. I think it's on the border of... I don't know if that's on the border between Zoldrak and Grizzly Hills, or it looks pretty close anyway. But now we draw 3 more cards and place a single ghoul there. There's a single ghoul at these locations. We find Wormrest Temple gets a ghoul. As does Ulduar, one of my favorite raid instances from Wrath of the Lich King. I didn't really get to run it too much because I ended up in kind of doing the mercenary thing for a while with Baron Wrath. Actually, probably from about halfway through Nax on, I was pretty much a mercenary. And Valgard, so down here, right by Sylvanas. Then we'll draw 1 more card, and this is where our first Abomination is going to go. Now the Abomination we have to kill... The Abomination has 3 HP, and we have to kill it in 1 shot. Let me just make sure. 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. Okay. Alright, so yeah, this space is going to get the first Abomination of the game. So we find... Ajol Narub has an Abomination on it. Alright, now we need to figure out where our quests are going to start this game. So let's look at the red quest first. Now once we complete a quest, we actually do get the reward for it. You can see there's a card underneath here. That'll be a quest reward that we'll get once we complete the quest. Anyway, our quest in the red region will take us to the Nexus. The mighty dragon Malygos has launched a war to purge the world of mortal spellcasters. And here's what I was talking about earlier with the symbols on the card. So if we have a symbol on the card, we can use it to advance along the quest track. And we can use it to advance along the quest track 1 space per icon on the cards. And we can do that in any order. So say we roll... So say our roll is, for example, and I'll be using the dice tower and the dice cup for all of this, but let's say our roll, for instance, is 1 and 1. So 1 fist, 1 shield. Which means we could use the travel card in our starting hand to advance it along 1 and then move down 2 from the actual quest zone. But I mean, that'll be 6 of 1, half dozen of the other here because of our roll. And then after the quest is over, we take the damage back from it. But because of the shield we rolled, we actually would take 1 less damage. So that will go on the Nexus. That will go there. One quick little nitpick that I have. If they're talking about the whole group of the Nexus instances, then yes, Malygos would be the ultimate boss. But of the 5-man raid dungeon by the same name in Wrath, the boss is actually a red dragon by the name of Karastraza that Malygos has corrupted. And one of my favorite quotes is actually from Karastraza in the Nexus after you get her to, I believe it's 10% health. It's somewhere low. I want to say it's 10, but I wouldn't swear to it. Anyway, the quote is, "Finish it. Finish it. Kill me, or I swear by the Dragon Queen you'll never see daylight again." Just a little kind of brush down memory lane. But anyway, that's where the quest in the red region is going to be. Now the purple region quest, the reason we need to know where the questing zones are is because one of the actions, rest, we can't do on the quest zones. So let's find out where we're going for purple. We're going to Wormrest Temple. After each quest action here, one hero on this space discards one card, 2 damage. Hallion's the final boss here. Hallion, the Twilight Destroyer, was the boss in the Ruby Sanctum, was basically the bridge instance, basically the bridge raid between Wrath of the Lich King and Cataclysm. So we're getting, the dragons are strong with us today. But anyway, so yeah, we can't rest on the Nexus, Wormrest Temple, or wherever the green zone is going to end up being. That will end up being... Ooh, Ulduar. We got raid bosses galore. During quest actions here, cancel 1 rolled fist, does 2 damage back, and the final boss it's representing is Yogg-Saron. So we'll put the icon up there. Then we'll bring that up there to indicate the starting quest marker. So yeah, that's going to be a bit of a problem. But anyway, that will do it for initial setup. I'll explain more about the rules of the game as we go along. But I think we're ready to jump into our first turn. And with that, let's head down and see where Jaina is going to start. Remembering that Jaina can teleport, I think we're going to make a beeline and get started on the Nexus right away. So, action 1, she's going to teleport straight to the Nexus. Then action 2, she's going to quest. So we'll need the dice tower and shot. I'll put it right here. Yeah. I put it down on top of a ghoul. That's brilliant. But anyway. Alright, so we can kind of see it there in shot. I'll see if I can maybe get that. Okay, there we go. So the dice... So at least the dice tray is actually visible in shot. So once again, we're going to take our 2 dice. We're going to roll them. And then we'll advance by the number of fists, but we are taking 3 damage back, barring any shields. So let's take a look here and see what we get. Alright, so we do get 2 fists. And then we have a foot icon in hand. So we'll bring this up. And we'll advance by 3, but Jaina will take 3 damage, which will bring her down to 3 health. So that was action 2. Action 3, we are going to keep the dice tower in shot. There's action 3, she is going to move down to Warsong Hold. And then action 4, she's going to rest. So resting works the exact same way as fighting or questing. You roll the 2 dice and then heal per fist you get. That's how that works. And we get 1 fist, so we do get to heal Jaina for 1 HP. Anyway, that's Jaina's 4 actions, so let's go ahead and draw 2 cards from the hero deck, and then we'll have to spawn ghouls. Card 1 we find. There's another travel. This will let us move up to 2 spaces once again. And a heal. So this is important, because as you remember, resting is not something we can do on a quest space, but we can use a heal, and it basically works the exact same way. So, yeah, so it lets us heal +1, and we can play it on a quest space. So anyway, those are the hero cards that we draw. Now we spawn ghouls, and we spawn that based on the Scourge track. I'll point that out when we move back up top to resolve our first bad card. Or first, I don't want to spoil what the name of the card is, but it's basically the epidemic in this... it's the epidemic in this game. So our first ghoul card up is River's Heart gets a ghoul. as does the Nexus, right on, actually not right on top of Jaina because we moved her off and rested. Anyway, then the Abomination will move. You can see it here in shot. You can also see its destination, the Wrathgate, because it will move toward the closest. Actually, we can choose who we want to move it toward. We can move it toward either, I'll move the tower out. We can actually move it toward either Jaina or Liadrin. So I think we're going to send it toward, I think we are going to send it toward Jaina, actually. So we'll move the Abomination down to Valiant's Keep. Then that will do it for Jaina's first turn. Now let's move down and see where Lady Liadrin's going. I think I may have blundered by sending the Abomination after Jaina, because I probably could have dealt with it more easily with Liadrin. But the plan here was to rush the questing. Unfortunately, I think we'll probably still be okay. But I think we are going to stick with the plan and have Liadrin start working on Wormrest Temple. So she's going to, for Action 1, she's going to move to Wormrest Temple. Action 2, she's going to go ahead and fight that ghoul. So we'll bring the Dice Tower in shot. I'll put it down here. Trying to keep the... That's the one thing I don't like about this Dice Tower, is it's so imposing is the biggest problem I have with it. But anyway. Alright, so the ghoul is long dead. Action 3, and Liadrin actually would take 1 damage because she's questing, or she's fighting in the Lich King's region. So Action 3, she will go ahead and quest. This will be 3 damage, but I can deal with that. Alright, that's 2, plus we will contribute a travel icon to move down. Actually, that's 2. Yeah, so either way. So I'll move down 2 and then contribute the travel icon to move down 3. Then we'll discard one of our travels. And Liadrin will take 3 damage, because remember, it's 2 damage from the quest plus 1 for being in the Lich King's region. And we'll move the Dice Tower out of shot. That was Action 3. Action 4 will be to move... Actually, we're going to use Heal first as a free action, because Liadrin is pretty banged up. So she'll be healing... She'll be healing plus 2, because if you remember her special ability... I'm going to grab my other Dice Tower for this one. If you remember Liadrin's special ability, she actually does heal plus 1 from her ability, but the heal lets us heal another plus 1. So we'll bring that Dice Tower in shot. So we're basically guaranteed to heal 2 right here. So Liadrin heals right back to full. So Liadrin goes back up to full health. And then I think actually because of that, she'll go ahead and run the quest back again. So we'll go ahead and do another quest while we're right here. Okay, so we advance... how do I want to do this? We discarded the heal, so we'll have to contribute... Actually, no, we can't get out of that. So 1, 2, 3. We'll have to discard a fight because of the quest action. And then we take... We cancel out the Lich King's damage because of the shield we rolled, but she still takes 2 damage. And that was Action 4 for Liadrin, so we'll get the Dice Tower out of shot, and then we'll draw 2 cards from the hero deck. First card up There's another travel, so that'll let us move up to 2 spaces on a free action. Then we find Stronghold. Play immediately. Place 1 stronghold on any space without a quest or stronghold. So when we're at a stronghold, while we rest at a stronghold, we heal +1 damage. And then as an action for a flight path, we can move to any stronghold. So let's move back up top and see where in the world we're going to place this stronghold. I usually place the first stronghold in the game with an eye toward making my questing life a little easier. So, looking at where we are at here, so I usually place the first stronghold between my 2 active quests, which right now are the Nexus and Wormrest Temple. So I think where I want to put this one is probably going to be... I got a couple places I could put it. I'm thinking either the Vault of Archivon, because it's 3 moves away from either one, or Ajol Narub, which is 3 to the Nexus, but 2 to Wormrest Temple. So yeah, I think I'm going to put the first stronghold. This is what the strongholds look like. We'll put that one at Ajol Narub. So now as an action, we can move there to help us out with that. But anyway, now we draw two more Scourge cards. We find Frosthold, which is right here by Dalaran. So that gets a Ghoul, as does 1 card. Vault of Archivon, which is one of the spots I was considering putting a stronghold. Now, I did mention briefly about the Scourge track. So that's up here. That will dictate how many cards we draw from the Scourge deck every time we summon Ghouls, or every time we spawn Ghouls. And that last step of the turn is to activate Abomination. So this one will move toward Jaina and then hit her for 1 damage. So that'll bring her down to 3. So that will do it for Lady Liadrin's turn. Now we'll move down to Sylvanas. Both of our initial 3 spawns ended up in the purple region. We had one here at Amberpine Lodge and the other at Kol Ramas. Now, this will be a little more urgent once we shuffle the discard pile and put it back on top, which this is a pandemic game. We'll be doing that at some point anyway. So, for action 1, Sylvanas is going to move to Grizzlemaw. Action 2, she's going to use her Wailing Arrow to take a shot into Amberpine Lodge, which means we need the Dice Tower back in shot. Wow, that is some talent to thread the needle. But anyway, so we've got that there. Now for this attack, Sylvanas will not get counterattacked, which is part of the reason why we're doing it. All right, we have 2 fists, which I think will be enough to take out these to make sure that space doesn't become a problem. We're not going to go too far with the Dice Tower, because Sylvanas does take 1 damage from the... Don't suffer damage during this action. I think she would still suffer the Lich King's damage there. Just thematically speaking, it wouldn't make sense for her not to suffer that damage, I don't think. But anyway, action 3 will move to Kol Ramas, and action 4 will try to take these ghouls out. I do have a fight card in my hand that I might contribute to this, but I haven't decided yet. Never mind, I can deal with taking 2 damage. I'll take 2 of those ghouls out. Mostly the reason I was attacking there was because when I shuffled the deck, I didn't want to have have a chance to become a 3 and cause us problems. Rather than shuffle the deck and then have us potentially cause what's called, I forget what it's called, but it's not an outbreak, it's the outbreak mechanic in this game. Let me double check, yada yada yada. Oh, overruns, that's what they're called. So I didn't want to cause an overrun there when the deck shuffled over. But anyway, those are Sylvanas' 4 actions. Let's go ahead and draw 2 cards from the hero deck. First up is a heal that we desperately needed. And another travel. So we've got a lot of traveling that we can do. Anyway, now we spawn ghouls once again. So we'll start off with Temple of Storms up by Ulduar. And Thrim's End, which is down just to the north of Drachtharon Keep right here. So we'll put a ghoul there. Then that will do it for Sylvanas' turn. Now we'll move back over to Jaina. We have the Dice Tower in shot with Jaina because our main goal this turn is to try to kill that abomination. So for action 1, we're going to fight it. We do have a fight in hand that I may end up using to take this abomination down. If I get at least 2 fists, I'm going to use it. Like that. So I'll discard my fight card for +1, and we'll take that abomination out. We're going to leave the Dice Tower in shot because for action 2, actually before we do that, we're going to use this heal. So as a free action, we'll do that. This won't take one of Jaina's 4 actions. We'll go ahead and roll this and hopefully get some good healing. 1 is better than none, but at least now, when I go up to the Nexus for action 2, I'm planning on continuing the quest there again this turn. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to heal up a little bit. So action 3, we'll take that ghoul out, which we do very nicely. Oop. Then action 4, Jaina will quest. Now her frost armor only works when she's fighting. It doesn't work when she's questing. Wow. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, and we just had to throw the heal away to get some rest. Jaina does take 3 damage. At least she's at 1 health, so I'll have to move her off. I'll have to move her back off the Nexus and rest again next turn. But anyway, that's Jaina's 4 actions. Now let's draw hero cards and see what we get. So first up we find a replacement fight to replace the one we used to get rid of the abomination. And our first Scourge Rises card. So let's move back up top to resolve this. Okay, so looking at the Scourge Rises, first we advance the Scourge marker. Fortunately, this doesn't change anything for us because we're still drawing 2 Scourge cards at the end of the turn. Then we draw the bottom card of the Scourge deck, move the Lich King into that region, fill it up to 3 ghouls, spawn an abomination, then discard that card. So we'll grab the bottom card of the Scourge deck. And we find the Argent Tournament. So we place 3 ghouls at the Argent Tournament, which is just behind ICC here. Now it might start actually getting a little hard to see everything. So I am going to move that out of the way. So the Argent Tournament's up there. We get an abomination, and then the Lich King moves up into the north region. Then we discard that card. And now we shuffle the Scourge discard pile and place it face down on top of the deck. So the reason I had Sylvanas go take care of the 2/3 spawns in the purple region was if we would have drawn a 4th ghoul, we wouldn't have placed it. Instead, we would have gotten an overrun where we would have advanced the Despair marker 1 track or 1 space. Then we would have also placed an abomination there. Now, we have to be very careful with that because there are several ways we can advance the Despair track. If a hero is defeated, for instance, we advance the Despair marker by 2. Now the Argent Tournament is our new most dangerous space, and we can't do anything about it right now. Short of abandoning the Nexus, which we might have to, but we'll see how that goes. But anyway, so now we give this, I'll give this a couple more, I was doing shuffling off camera, but we'll do a little bit more on camera. So yeah, we do need to watch out for the Argent Tournament now coming up, because trying to place a fourth Ghoul there would trigger an overrun and another Abomination, which could be very problematic. Fortunately, we're still drawing 2 cards from the Scourge deck. So first up, Thrym's End gets another Ghoul. And Frosthold gets another Ghoul. Okay. So anyway, that will do it for... Okay, that was Jaina's turn. Now we'll move over to Lady Liadrin. Actually, we're not quite ready to go see Lady Liadrin because I forgot to activate Abominations. So we'll end up sending the Abomination after, most likely, Lady Liadrin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to Jaina. 4 moves to get to Liadrin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 moves to get to Sylvanas. So yeah, we're sending him after Lady Liadrin. So anyway, now we're ready to go pay Lady Liadrin a visit. With the Abomination up in, what is that, the Breach, I think we're going to let it come to us for the time being. So the question is, what do I want to do in the meantime? I think Action 1 will go ahead and quest. So we'll bring the Dice Tower back in shot. We'll advance another 3 spaces. Actually, it'll be 4 because we have both a fight and a defend in hand. Liadrin will take 2 damage, and then she'll have to discard a travel. Action 2 will run that back with the potential of potentially clearing this quest. Which we don't do, but we are able to make another 3 on it. So 1, 2, 3, because we did have both defend and travel in hand. We'll discard one of the travels. Action 3, I'm going to have Liadrin take a flight path to Ajol-Nerub. And then for Action 4, I don't know why I brought the Dice Tower out of shot, because Action 4, she's going to rest. She's in pretty... Well, she's not in terrible shape, but she's not real happy right now either. And Wormrest Temple is actually almost done. Alright, so she heals for 3 because of her special ability. Lets her heal +1. Stronghold lets her heal +1. And then 1 fist in there, so she gets healed back to 6 HP. Anyway, those are Liadrin's 4 actions. Now let's find out what hero cards we're drawing. First up, we have another defend, which will let us prevent 2 damage once again. And another travel. Okay. Alright, so next up we draw Scourge cards. First card up. Gundrak gets another Ghoul. And it may get a Sylvanas sniper shot on her next turn. And Vault of Archivon gets another Ghoul. Anyway, that will do it for Lady Liadrin. Now let's move over to Sylvanas. Action 1 for Sylvanas will be to take a shot into Gundrak. She fights as if she was on that space, so she will take the 1 damage from the Lich King being right there. That's 1 damage, but still that'll at least make sure Gundrak doesn't go off on us. So Sylvanas will take 1 damage from the Lich King. Action 2, she'll go ahead and take out Kolramas. Try to take out the ghoul there. Which she'll do easily. Action 3, she'll move over to Thrym's End. And action 4, she will try to take out the ghouls there. She will do that as well. So she'll take out the ghouls there. That's all 4 of Sylvanas' actions. Now we draw 2 more hero cards from the deck. First card up. Another Scourge rises. We'll have to move up top to resolve that. And a fight, which gives us another fist. But anyway, with that, we'll put that in the hand. Then we'll move back up top. We'll move back up top to resolve the... Move back up top to resolve the Scourge rises. Okay, so now we have our second Scourge rises, which means once again, we advance the Scourge marker, so now we're drawing 3 Scourge cards for the turn. Then we draw the bottom card of the Scourge deck, moving the Lich King, fill the 3 ghouls, and spawn an Abomination there. So we're filling Thunderfall, which is right next to Sylvanas. 3 ghouls, and an Abomination. The Lich King stays in that region. This is going to turn into a problem. So now we'll shuffle everything up. We're going to have at least 1 overrun coming up this turn, so we're going to need to try to stop that if we can. Alright, now we're drawing 3 cards from the Scourge deck. So first card up is the Vault of Archivon, which is not one of our overruns, but it's still a dangerous place to have right now. Card 2 is Thunderfall, which we just spawned, so that is our first overrun. So the way we handle that, come to the rule book. So we don't place that ghoul there. We advance the despair marker 1 space, then we place an Abomination on the overrun space. Ghouls don't outbreak to connected spaces like in the other versions of Pandemic. So we do advance that. Then we spawn an Abomination in the overrun space. So Thunderfall, yikes. So now we have 2 Abominations there. That's going to be a big problem. Because now if we need to spawn more Abominations, that will also advance us down the despair track. So we need to be extremely careful of that. And then our last card is Frosthold, which also gets another ghoul. So now we have to activate Abominations. So we're now going to end up in a situation where Sylvanas is going to get rocked here. Fortunately, the Abomination on the Breach isn't going to get to her, but the 2 on Thunderfall will. So we move that one to Dalaran, then these 2 to Thrym's End, and Sylvanas ends up taking 2. Which also... So yeah, Sylvanas will be at 1 HP. Unfortunately, there won't be anything I can do about that at the end of her... There won't be anything I can do about it unless I can somehow get Jaina over there. Travels move up to 2. No, I don't think I'm going to be able to get Sylvanas out of there. So we're going to fly. We're going to start flying down the despair track here and nothing flat. Fortunately, our one location that we could have we still have the Argent Tournament in there. We still have the Argent Tournament that could cause problems. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to. I think Jaina's going to have to abandon the Nexus for the time being to try to control the Argent, to try to get the Argent tournament under something resembling control. Anyway, speaking of Jaina, let's move down and see what she's doing. Unfortunately, Jaina is also more than a little busted up. So I think her first action is she's going to teleport. So she's going to move up to the Shadow Vault for action 1. Then action 2, she's going to rest. So we'll bring the Dice Tower in shot for that. Okay, she will get to heal 3 HP, fortunately. So that brings her up to 4. That was action 2. Action 3, she'll move into the Argent tournament. Then action 4, she's going to fight. And remember, because of her frost armor, she gets a guaranteed shield when she fights, so she'll be taking 1 less damage than the number of ghouls that remain. Actually, she'll be... The frost armor is actually going to cancel out the Lich King's damage. I forgot the Lich King was still there. I think we will chip it. We think we will throw a fight in just to make sure all the ghouls bite it there. And then Jaina will take 1 from the Lich King being there, which will bring her back down to 3. So yeah, we did have to abandon the Nexus for the time being, but anyway, that will be that's Jaina's 4 actions. So let's go ahead and draw 2 cards from the hero deck and see what we get to do with them. First card up is a heal, which is badly needed right now. And another fight. This one lets us add another fist to the space, to a fight, or something we can contribute on questing. But anyway, that will do it for Jaina. Now we have to draw cards from the Scourge deck. And we get 3 of them this time. So card 1... Gundrak, oh boy, we're starting to have a lot of problems here. I think the board is starting to get a little out of control, and we still haven't resolved Sylvanas' attack yet. Then we have Thrym's End, which is a very happening space right now. And card 3. That looks like... I can never get it to focus, but I think that's Wormrest Temple. That is Wormrest Temple. Okay. Alright, so we've done that, then we activate Abominations. I'm going to send the Abomination in Dalaran, actually after Liadrin, because now it's equidistant from Sylvanas to Liadrin. Or we could send it after Jaina, even. I think I'm going to send it after Liadrin, though. Unfortunately, the Abominations on Thrym's End will defeat Sylvanas. So Sylvanas will take 2 damage from the ghouls, which she was only at 1. So, as I'll double check the rule book here, if they deal damage simultaneously. So yeah, I'm just double checking this. But I'm pretty sure what happens is, if a hero is defeated, they heal fully and go back to their start zone, but then the despair track advances by 2. Where is it? Yes. Okay. Despair all cards. Okay. This wouldn't happen on the solo mode, I don't think. But yeah, so it wouldn't happen during the solo mode, but discard all cards from your hand. Advance the despair marker by 2. So we're now halfway down the board on that. Place your hero on their starting space, so Sylvanas will go back to Vengeance Landing and heal to full. So yeah, that just went totally bonkers on us. But anyway, that will do it for Jaina's turn. Now let's move over and see what Lady Liadrin's doing. Liadrin, we're in a very bad way right now. So we have two pressing objectives that we need to deal with right here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see what I'm looking at. We've got 3 ghouls on the Vault of Archivon, although I think we just drew it from the Scourge. Yep, we just drew it from the Scourge deck, so that's not going to be a huge problem until we shuffle the deck. But I don't want to let it get that far. We also have this abomination that we need to deal with. I want to try to get at least one of these things off the board. So I think what we're going to do here is for action 1, Liadrin's going to move up to the Vault of Archivon. Action 2, we're going to bring the Dice Tower in shot so she can fight. I do have 2 fight cards in hand, but I want to save those for the abomination if I can. Even killing just 1 is going to be helpful because once we shuffle the deck, we won't have an overrun there. 1, and we end up taking 2 damage. Actually, we take 1 damage because we rolled a shield in there. So Liadrin will take 1. That was action 2. Then as a free action, I'll discard one of the travel cards from our hero's hand to move her back to the abomination at the Wrathgate. And action 3, she'll fight again. And the 3 damage that we have to do to the abomination, we have to do that in 1 shot. We can't stack damage on it like we can on monsters in other games. This is where I'm probably going to need one of the fight cards. I will use one. I get 2 fists, so I'll use one of the fight cards in there to take that abomination out, which means now the abomination spawns won't cause us to advance on the despair track further. Then action 3, I will try to draw the abominations away from Sylvanas. This is a decision. What do we want to do here? I think we are going to try to draw the abominations. Oh boy. How do I want to draw them away, though? I have to be careful about this because if I try to draw the abominations away from Sylvanas, Liadrin's going to be defenseless if I put them in reach of her. So, yeah, I think... Although Sylvanas did just heal to full, so we do have that to keep an eye on. I think for action 4, she'll move back down to Wormrest Temple, and we'll try to finish that quest next turn. Although the board is starting to get out of control. But anyway, now we have our 2 hero cards. We draw. I'll zoom this out a little bit so it's going to have to hold it so blasted far. Another heal, which is very welcome. And another heal. So now we have a full grip of cards. We'll have to discard when we go to draw hero cards next. But first, we have our spawning ghouls. So first up, we spawn at Ajol Narub on top of our stronghold. Then we spawn at Temple City of Inkala, which is going to be another trouble spot once we reshuffle the deck. And Kolramas, which had been a pretty happening space earlier in the game, but is now under control. Anyway, that will do it for Liadrin. Now let's move over to Sylvanas. I need to split these 2 abominations up if I can. The only way I can do that is if I can somehow keep Sylvanas and Liadrin equidistant from them. Because Jaina's too far away to be able to help with that plan. She's 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away. And whereas if I keep Sylvanas where she is, The only problem with that plan is I need to try to get some of these 3 spots under control. So as we look at the Scourge discard pile, we got Kolramas, Ajul Narub, I skipped over Temple of City of Ankala, Wormrest, Thrim's End, Gundrak, Frosthold, Thunderfall. So our trouble spots are all in the discard pile right now. Unfortunately, the only one I can do anything with right now from our current spot on the board is Gundrak. Unless I want to try to sniper one of those abominations down, which is actually not a terrible play. Because I go 1, 2, 3. I can move 1 to Grizzlemaw, 2 to Kolramas, 3 to shoot in, and I've got a fight that I can chip in toward it. Fast action back out, 4 to... Well, we don't need to heal. Maybe we go 1, 2, fight here for 3, sniper here for 4, and then fast action back out. That actually might not be a bad play. So let's go 1 to Grizzlemaw, 2 to Kolramas. We'll bring the Dice Tower in shot for a fight in Kolramas 3. Hopefully, I'm hoping to God, for obvious reasons, I won't need the fight here. I shouldn't, though. Yeah. I'm hoping to see that more of that role as we do questing and like even this fight action where we're snipering into Thrim's End for 4. That'll work, though. That'll take out one of the abominations. I could use the fight here, but I'm not going to. But I will use the travel action, the travel card, as a free action to pull Sylvanas back to Vengeance Landing. And then we'll draw 2 cards from the hero deck. First up, we'll find another fight, which we'll probably need later, and another fight, but we do have to discard because we're at 8 cards and hand limit is 7, so I'll toss one of these fights. And now we have 3 cards from the Scourge deck. First up is the Nexus, gets a Ghoul, which is one of our questing zones this game. Then we have River's Heart, which also gets a Ghoul. And the Argent Tournament, which is right on top of Jaina and gets a Ghoul. Then we activate Abominations. Now I can send this Abomination in either direction. The Abominations actually moves down to Drachtharon Keep, which means the next question is, who do we want it to go after? Anyway, that will do it for Sylvanas. Now we'll go pay Jaina a visit. We have several fires that need to be doused before we shuffle the deck. We've got the Temple City of Ankala, which is turning into a problem. Frosthold is also becoming a problem. And Thunderfall is a problem as well. Unfortunately, the latter two, Frosthold and Thunderfall, actually we have Gundrak as well over here off shot. Unfortunately, those 3 are all covered by the Lich King, who's right there. So right now, I think we're going to send Jaina... Do we bite the bullet and have her cover it and have her go after one of the northernmost fires anyway? I think we kind of have to, although I wanted to get back to questing it in the Nexus. Although Ulduar really needs some work too. So I think we are going to have to bite the bullet and try to deal with some of the fires up north. So we'll reposition the camera just slightly as I was looking at the board. Action 1, Jaina is going to teleport to Frosthold. Action 2 will bring the Dice Tower in so she can fight. So she's a guaranteed +1 shield here. See how many fists we get, though. We get 1. I will chip in... I don't want to use the fight on clearing on Ghoul detail, though. I will take 1 out for sure. And And then we're actually taking no damage from this. So action 1 was to teleport, action 2 was to fight. Action 3, I think we will have to discard if we don't. So I think action 3 I'll send Jaina down to Drachtharon Keep, and then action 4 will fight. Here we can chip it, here we can throw the fight cards in if we need to. And then we can always fly to our stronghold in the Ghouls anyway. One, two, three, and I'll chip in both fight cards to clear that space. I wanted to get the Abomination off the board if I could. So yeah. It was probably a bad idea to bring Jaina that far from the Nexus, but it was kind of a pick your poison situation. But anyway, that will do it for Jaina's turn. Now we'll go ahead and draw our 2 cards, or 2 hero cards. First up, Travel, which moves any hero on your space up to 4 spaces. That could be handy. That could help us get Jaina back to the Nexus, potentially. And card 2 is our second stronghold, so we get to move back up top and place that. Right now, Ulduar has been very inaccessible to us, so I think we're going to place the second stronghold with an eye to getting at Ulduar, because this one in Ajol Narub is actually making the Nexus and Wormrest Temple both somewhat accessible to us. So I'm going to put this the second stronghold at the Breach. This also has the added benefit of when we're ready to move into ICC, we can actually use that stronghold to get there easily. And then that's 2 spaces away from Ulduar, so that will help us out there. Anyway, now we get our 3 cards from the Scourge deck. So first up is Drachtharon Keep, which is on top of Jaina. Then we find Temple of Storms, which is up here by Ulduar, which will get the ghoul for that. And Amberpine Lodge, which is down here, not far from Sylvanas. So we'll get the Abomination, or the ghouls there. Then we would spawn Abominations, except we are -3 Abominations on the board right now, so we don't have any to activate there. That will do it for Jaina. Now let's go pay Liadrin a visit. With the Abominations off the board, we can finally worry about finishing this quest on Wormrest Temple. So action 1, we'll go ahead and do that. We need to roll 2 fists here to be able to do that, because we had to use our fights in clearing Drachtharon Keep. We get 1, which means we take 2 damage and discard a card. So Liadrin goes down to 3, and we'll toss one of our heals. Action 2, we'll run that back. Actually, we only take 1 damage because of the shield. So we do that. Now action 2 will run the fight back. We'll run the quest back. Why couldn't we have had that roll the first time around? But anyway, Liadrin will discard. This time she'll actually discard a heal, but she'll use the defense to prevent the 2 damage being taken. So Wormrest Temple is actually completed, and we get our first quest reward of the game. So we'll do that. That's no longer a quest space. And then Liadrin will find Argent Crusaders. Anytime, choose any hero, deal 5 damage divided among their space and connected spaces. Ooh. So we could use this if we need to clear something out in a hurry. Actually, that might be very tempting to use right away. But I would need to move Jaina into position for what I have in mind with that. But anyway, that was 2 actions to quest. Action 3 will move Liadrin up to the breach, which is the stronghold up there. Then for action 4, we'll bring the dice tower back in shot so she can heal. And she'll be healing +2 for being on a stronghold and for her special ability. So she actually should be down to 2 health right now. We had 1 fallout, but I definitely like the result. That's a guaranteed 3, so Liadrin's going to end up near full. Actually, that's a guaranteed 4. So Liadrin ends up actually at full health. So Liadrin goes all the way back up to 7. And then that will do it for Lady Liadrin. So now we draw our hero cards. So we find... There's 2 right there. So we find... another defend, and Scourge Rises. Oh joy. So now we'll have to move back up top to resolve that. Alright, the Scourge Rises once again. So we advance the Scourge track, which means we're still drawing 3 cards. Then we draw the bottom card of the Scourge deck. I wasn't able to do as much babysitting on here as I would have liked. But we'll fill this to 3 Ghouls and spawn an Abomination there. So we'll fill the Wrathgate to 3 Ghouls and spawn an Abomination. Then we'll give this all a shuffle. And a cut, because that will all go back on top of the deck. Now we have 3 cards, so now we need to keep an eye on our 3 Ghoul locations. Temple City of Ankala, the Wrathgate, Thunderfall, and Gundrak. Because we can start overrunning the board in a hurry. First card up. Vault of Archivon, which is not one of our overrun cards, but we are also starting to get a little uncomfortably low on ghouls. So I think this may be a turn to try to clear some of those off the board. Then we spawn at Frosthold, which also dodges the bullet. And Thunderfall, which also triggers, which does trigger an overrun. So we advance that by 1. We spawn an Abomination there. And now we activate Abomination. So closest for this one is Jaina. I think the closest for the other one will also end up being Jaina. So yeah, now we have a lot of problems on our hands. Jaina is basically Jaina is going to get surrounded here very quickly. So, Fortunately, it's Sylvanas' turn, so we may have to get... Do we just... Actually, we'll move over to Sylvanas' turn, but I just realized we may have a way out of this. So anyway, let's move down to Sylvanas. Okay, we're over here with Sylvanas. I wanted to use this force-based travel for something else, for something to get deeper into the board, but I think we need to use it to get out of trouble here. So for actions 1 and 2, Sylvanas is going to end up at Drachtharon Keep. Then as a free action, she's going to discard the travel card to move Jaina up to Thrim's End. Then we're going to use Argent Crusaders, our reward from completing Wormrest Temple, to choose a hero, deal 5 damage divided among their space and connected spaces. So what we're going to do is we're going to clear the Abomination from Thrim's End, and then a Ghoul each from Frosthold and Thunderfall. And then for action 4, actually, The only thing I didn't like about that idea is making Sylvanas now vulnerable to the Abomination just off shot, and we'll move the camera over so you can see. Sylvanas right now is vulnerable to the Abomination in Dalaran, which is the only thing I don't like about that plan, but I can't... But at this point, I can't really help that. Because I needed to try to clear those spots off, especially with the deck having just been reshuffled. So I think the only thing we can do really right now is just take a gamble. I mean, the worst thing that happens is we're basically in the same situation we were before. So I'm going to gamble here. We'll bring the dice tower over here. We're going to try to kill that Abomination in Dalaran. Unfortunately, the only problem with trying to do it this way is I'll have to make the kill naturally. I'll have to roll 3 fists. I don't have any fight cards to help me out with it. That will work beautifully. So Abomination go bye-bye on Sniper Detail, and that was Sylvanas' 4th action. So now I have the question of who do we send the Abomination after? Do we send it after Sylvanas or Liadrin? Because I forgot Liadrin was right there as well. But now we've solved that question. So now we'll draw 2 cards from the hero deck. That was easy. First card up is another Defend. We need more fight cards is what we need. That one lets us prevent, once again, 2 damage. And our last Stronghold. So we get to place our last Stronghold, which means we'll move back up top to figure out where we want to place that. Our last Stronghold should probably go somewhere that's somewhat accessible to both the Nexus and ICC. So I'm tempted to put it in River's Heart, especially with purple kind of not being a problem right now. Maybe I do actually stick this one in purple so I can help control that a little bit better. The Nexus isn't horribly inaccessible from Majol Narub. Yeah, I think we put this one in... I think we put this one in purple, actually, to give us more access to controlling this side of the board. So I'll put this one at... I'll put this one at Amberpine Lodge, just to make sure we're a little... Just to make sure we're somewhat centralized there. And now we draw 3 cards from the Scourge deck. We find Thrim's End, which is right on top of Jaina. Next up, we find River's Heart, which actually... Okay, never mind. I was going to say that triggers an overrun. But we do have a big problem on our hands right now. Card 3, Kolramas. So we actually have 2 big problems on our hands right now. We've got 4 locations in red that are about to trigger overruns. Temple City of Enkala, River's Heart, Vault of Archivon, and the Wrathgate. And of those 4 locations, I think the only one that won't trigger right now is River's Heart because we just... Okay, River's Heart and Vault of Archivon won't trigger because we just drew them. So I think we need to babysit I think we need to get these spaces under a little bit of control. Because as we saw, the Temple City of Enkala and the Wrathgate are still in the deck, and they're still toward the top because we've had to shuffle them in. So before we get back to questing, we need to do a little bit of clearing there. Fortunately, the Lich King is still in the green branch of the board, but let's move down to Jaina and see what we can do to get this board under control. The first thing Jaina is actually going to do is she is going to heal. So we're going to toss the... Actually, no. Action 1, we're going to move her to Ajol Narub. Then in Action 2, now we're going to toss the heal, so we're healing +2. +1 for the heal card, +1 for the stronghold that we're on. So we'll bring the dice tower into shot right there. We'll heal her for 3. Should actually bring her back up to full, which is where I want her to be before I send her into the fire. It was action 1 to move to the stronghold. Then it was a free rest action. Action 2, I'll move her up to the Wrathgate. Action 3 will attack the ghouls there. We'll fight. We'll clear one of the ghouls and take no damage because we had frost armor, which gave us +1 guaranteed when you fight. Action 4, let's see, action 1 was to move, free heal. Action 3 to move. Oh no. Wait. Okay, action 1 to the flight path, free action to heal. Action 2 to move to the Wrathgate. Action 3 to fight. Action 4, I'll teleport her to the Vault of Archivon. Mostly because we're not in danger of taking any damage from the ghouls. And the only risk here is if the Temple City of Enkalat triggers an overrun, then Jaina is going to probably get... Well, Jaina's at full health, so she should be fine. But anyway, that's all 4 of Jaina's actions. So we draw 2 cards from the hero deck. We will draw a heal, which is welcome, and another heal, which is also welcome. So we'll go into our hand. Then we draw 3 cards from the Scourge deck. First up, Temple of Storms, which is now potentially a danger spot. We're actually in a lot of trouble, though, because we do need to clear out some of these ghouls. Card 2. Drachtharon Keep on top of Sylvanas. Then action 3. Amberpine Lodge. So now we need to be careful, because if we end up in a situation where we can't place any ghouls on the board, we're going to fly down the despair track in a hurry. So I think this turn we need to spend a round or two probably babysitting ghouls. Anyway, that will do it for Jaina. Now let's move up to Liadrin. The Dice Tower is coming straight in shot because we're doing a lot of fighting this round. Action 1, I'll move her up to the Temple of Storms. That's the only unfortunate part about this is a lot of our fighting is going to be with the Lich King around. Action 2 will fight. Take everything out there, but we still take 1 because the Lich King's there. So at least we can place those ghouls back on the board. Action 3 will be to move down to Frosthold. And action 4 will run the fight back. I think we're going to have to, like I said, I think we're going to have Liadrin and Sylvanas do a little bit of babysitting this round. Those ghouls are dead as well, but once again, Liadrin takes another 1 damage from being in the space of the Lich King. Anyway, that will do it for Liadrin. Now we draw 2 more cards from the hero deck. I'll zoom this out a little bit so I don't have to hold the cards so far. We find another heal. So we've got heals for days. And a fight, which we desperately need, especially if we're going to end up having the abominations coming back out. Thankfully, they shouldn't be coming out for a while, but we still have 3 cards that we have to draw from the deck. Card 1. Wormrest Temple gets a ghoul. Card 2. Temple City of Enkalat, which does trigger an overrun. And puts an abomination out on the board. This is the only thing I didn't like about bringing Jaina down there. It makes her vulnerable to the abominations. And card 3 is a Jol Nerub, which gets a ghoul on it. And now we activate abominations. The ghoul, or the abomination, makes friends with Jaina and slaps her for 1 damage. So fortunately, she can take a bit of a hit here. Anyway, that will do it for Liadrin. Now let's move down to Sylvanas. There's a decent chance we're just treading water at this point, because the next hero that bites it just ends the game on the spot. But action 1, we're going to fight this out anyway. Action 1 will fight on Drachtharon Keep. Take out 1 and do 1 damage. Or take out 1 and take nothing back. Action 2, I'll move Sylvanas to Naxxramas. Action 3, I'll sniper into Amberpine Lodge, down here. On this action, I won't take damage. Take all the ghouls out there, so we won't have a problem there. Then action 4, I'll move down... I'll move her to... I'm actually going to work her back toward Drachtharon Keep. I'm taking a bit of a risk here because Gundrak... We're also at a point right now where our next 2 overruns also end the game. But anyway, first we draw player cards. We're going to have to discard after both of these. So we draw... Travel. Ooh, I'll discard a defend for that. And another travel, which will get a heal this time, just to spread it out a little bit. And this way I've got roughly everything I need. But anyway, now we draw 3 cards from the player deck, or from the Scourge deck. So first card we find... Gundrak, which actually does trigger an overrun and spawns an abomination. So now we need to be very careful, because our next advance down that track means we lose the game. Card 2. The Wrathgate, which thankfully we managed to at least get something out of. And card 3. The Argent Tournament, which gets a ghoul. Then Jaina gets hit for 1. Actually, yeah, Jaina gets hit for 1 from the Abomination. That will do it for Sylvanas. So we're definitely in a pickle here. The question is, what do we do about it? Is there anything we can do about it, really? Well, let's go back to Jaina and see what we can do with it. Our dilemma here is, do we rush the quests, or do we try to try to get the board under a little bit of control? Because as we recall, we're at a point here where our next advance down the despair track just ends the game, because we will lose at that point. And we can advance down the despair track in a number of ways. Our next overrun will do it. In fact, do we still have potential for an overrun coming out of the deck? Let me look here. Argent Tournament, Wrathgate. Alright. Gundrak just triggered. Jol Narub, Temple City of Enkalat triggered. Drachtharon, Temple of Storms. Thunderfall is not going to trigger. Frosthold. Okay, so we do have... I think we have all of our locations that could trigger overruns that we've drawn. So let me just go through this one more time. Temple City of Enkala is one of our danger spots. Drachtharon is not. Cold Ramus, River's Heart is. Thunderfall is not, and Vault of Archon. So it looks like all of our danger spots right now have come up. So, yeah, I think our play right now is to try to get our ghoul count down a little bit. So for action 1, we'll go ahead and fight there. One, 2... I'll actually take the 2 damage, but I will go ahead and take out these 2 ghouls. I probably need to get rid of that abomination too. So action 2 will run that back. This time with the plan of taking out the abomination if we can. I've got a fight card that I may throw into this. Which I will to get rid of the abomination. So I'll throw the fight card in to get rid of the abomination, and the shields say I don't take damage. Action 3, I will move to... I'll teleport actually to the Nexus, and then action 4 will quest. We haven't been able to do that for quite a while, but I think the ghoul count is now... It's not where I want it to be, but at this point it's kind of pick your poison. We advance 3. We'll actually use a defend to advance 4. Ugh, I forgot about our health, so rewind that. Okay. Here's what I was going to do. Here's what I should have done. I'm going to rewind that because I forgot Jaina was that low. We're going to toss a heal as a free action before we do the quest, and I'm going to reroll the quest. I'm not just going to take the results up, even though that would have been really good. So I think we were down here. Alright, healing 2, actually healing 3 is still very helpful. And now we'll run the quest back. That will be action 4. I completely spaced on the heal. Well, and we still get the same result. So down to the same discard, down to the same use a shield card. Take 3 damage. Actually, I'll use a defend to prevent 2 of it. So I'll only take 1. Anyway, that will do it for Jaina. So 2 cards from the player deck. A fight, which gives us another +1 fist to any fight on your space. And a travel, which as a fast action, we can use that to move a hero up to 4 spaces. Alright, now we need 3 Scourge cards. First up, what is that, the Nexus? That is the Nexus. Alright, so right on top of Jaina gets a Ghoul. If this is Gundrak, but I don't think it is. If this is Gundrak, the game just ends on the spot. But like I said, I don't think it's Ulduar. So the game continues there. And we find Valgard, which gets a ghoul. Then the Abomination moves. It'll go after Liadrin because Liadrin's closer. So anyway, that will do it for Jaina. Now let's go see what Liadrin can do. Right now we really don't have a good play, I don't think. Because we're in a pickle here. But I think action 1 will be to move Liadrin into Thrim's End. Action 2 will grab the Dice Tower so she can fight. Try to clear that Abomination out because so that doesn't cause us problems. And once again, I've got a fight here that I can throw into this if I need to take something, if I need to take more out. One, two, three. I think I will throw the fight in so I can clear out one of those. Actually, no. I don't need to. I'll take the Abomination out for sure. I'll just take the 1 damage from the shield, reduced by the shield. So that was action 2. Do I have a travel that'll let me move up to 2? Yes, I do. I will use that to get Liadrin over to Gundrak. We'll move the camera here. So we'll get Liadrin over to Gundrak. Move, fight, travel. Travel card. So this is action 3 to let her fight. Clear out 2 of the ghouls, and she takes 1. And then for action 4, she'll move back out to Thunderfall. And then we'll get 2 cards from the hero deck from Liadrin's turn. So we find the Scourge Rises. Uh-oh. This could be very bad. And a fight, which gives us 2 combat, but it might not matter. Anyway, let's move back up top to resolve the Scourge Rises. First things first, we advance the Scourge marker, so we're in the last space of drawing 3 cards from the Scourge deck. Then we draw the bottom card of the Scourge deck, fill it to 3, and spawn an Abomination. So we are filling Shadow Vault to 3 ghouls and an Abomination. More dangerously, though, we are shuffling the discard pile of the Scourge deck. Right now we have 4 locations that we need to duck. Actually, yeah, 4 locations that we need to duck. Unfortunately, they're also in that top portion of the deck. So card 1 is the Nexus, which is not one of the card locations that we need to duck. Action 2, or card 2, is Ulduar, which now that's a trouble spot. And card 3 is Wormrest Temple. We also have way too many ghouls on the board, so we're probably going to lose on the next turn unless we're able to clear a pretty big amount of ghouls out this turn. But before we get to that, the Abomination moves, and we'll send him 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can send him either after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The only hero we can't send him after is Liadrin. We can send him after Jaina or Sylvanas. I think we'll send him after... We'll send him after Sylvanas because I can potentially use Liadrin to help kind of split him off a little bit. So we'll do that. That will do it for Liadrin's turn. Now we'll move down to Sylvanas. With as many potential overrun, aka game-ending locations as we have in red right now, I think our best play is to get some babysitting detail on red locations. So for action 1, Sylvanas is going to move to Ajol Narub. Action 2, she'll sniper into the Wrathgate, so we'll get the Dice Tower and shot. We need to kill at least 2 ghouls this turn, or the game's going to end when we go to draw Scourge cards. That's all 3 ghouls at the Wrathgate, so that's very welcome. Then fast action. So action 1, Flight Path. Action 2, Shoot In. Fast, I'll send Sylvanas to River's Heart with a travel. Action 3, she'll shoot in. clear that out as well. Very nicely done, Sylvanas. Then we'll toss our other travel card to bring Sylvanas to the Temple City of Enkala. And then action 4, we'll run that attack back again. Clear 2 of them out, Sylvanas takes 1. I can live with that. Most importantly, it gets us ghouls that we can spawn again for a few turns. Anyway, 2 cards from the deck. 2 cards from the player deck. Defend, which will let us prevent 2 damage. And Travel, which we will probably need here. Unfortunately, having just shuffled the deck, we still have locations where we just lose the game on the spot. We have 1 in the deck where we just lose the game on the spot. Actually, yeah, we have 1 where we just lose the game on the spot. So card 1. Vault of Archivon is not one of them, thankfully. It's not that location. Card 2. Thrym's End is also not that location. And card 3 is the Argent Tournament, which is also not that card. And then as far as activating the Abomination, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's going after Lady Liadrin. Anyway, that will do it for Sylvanas. Now we'll move over to Jaina. Jaina's hurting a bit here, but she's not in terrible, terrible shape. I think the first thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to toss the heal so she can heal +1. So we'll heal her for 3, which will bring her back up to full health. Then actual action 1, she's going to fight. We'll see if we can clear some of those ghouls off the board. Clear 2 of them off and don't take any damage because of the frost armor, which is very helpful. Action 3 will quest. I'm hoping we can try to finish this quest this turn. I think that will do it. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll contribute the fight card. Jaina will still take 3 damage. But the quest at the Nexus is done. Which means as a reward, Jaina will get new allies. Anytime current player takes up to 2 cards from the hero discard into their hand. Ooh. We may end up needing that, especially if there's something I need to rip loose. So Jaina has 2 more actions left because the heal was a card we tossed. We fought, we quested, and we finished that in 1 shot, thankfully. Let's see. I think action 3, we can't get back to the Shadow Vault. That's our only. The Shadow Vault is our only danger card right now. So for action 3, I'm going to take a little bit of a wider shot. All right. Action 3 for Jaina is going to be to move to the Stronghold at the Breach. Then we're going to toss our Travel card to move her up to the Shadow Vault. And then action 4 is going to be to fight. So as long as I don't completely whiff, which is very possible, I might have to toss a fight card in just to take a ghoul off that space, just to make sure we don't lose the game on the spot. Didn't mean to jar the camera there. We take 2 off the board, and Jaina doesn't take any damage because of her frost armor, so that helps us That'll help us avoid that whammy for the time being. Anyway, that will do it for Jaina. Our next two cards from the hero deck are Defend, which prevents another 2 damage, and Travel. Very handy. And now we draw 3 cards from the Scourge deck. Card 1. Temple City of Enkala right on top of Sylvanas. Then Gundrak. Good thing we cleared that out. And Valgard, which is starting to turn into a little bit of a problem, so I may have to send somebody down to try to deal with that. Anyway, that will do it for Jaina. Now let's move over and see what Liadrin's doing. Fortunately, Liadrin is not on a quest space, so action 1, she's going to rest. Got the Dice Tower and shot there. She'll heal for 3, which will bring her back up to 6. Sorry about the highly exciting view of my arm there as I slid over and adjusted Liadrin's health. Looking in the discard pile, I think we're safe-ish until we shuffle the deck. So for action 2, Liadrin's going to move to Thrym's End. I don't know why I brought the Dice Tower out of shot, because action 3 she's going to fight. Clear everything on the space. Then I'm going to toss the travel card to move her up to Ulduar. In action 4, we're going to fight there. Clear everything on that space as well, and she takes 1 damage because of the Lich King being there. So that'll bring her down to 5 health. And now maybe we can finally start working on Ulduar next turn. But let's see what we get out of the hero deck. So first up we find a travel, which we'll need. And a fight, which is +2 fists on any combat, on any fight on your space. We'll discard a defend for that. And then we need 3 cards from the Scourge deck. First up we find the Wrathgate gets a Ghoul. Then Drachtharon Keep gets a Ghoul. And finally Frosthold gets a Ghoul. Then the Abomination continues to go after Jaina. Back to the... Actually, we could send it after either Liadrin or Jaina. I think I'm going to send it after Jaina and then figure on having her deal with it. Anyway, that will do it for... Actually, I could have another option, too. I could send Sylvanas to deal with it. And I might do that, actually, because that will do it for Liadrin. Now we're over to Sylvanas' turn. Here's Sylvanas. Action 1, she'll move to the flight path of the Breach. Action 2, she's going to sniper into the Argent Tournament, and I've got a couple of fight cards that I can toss into this if I need to. I mostly want the ghouls off this space if I can get them there. Or the better play might be to try to take the Abomination out and then move in and deal with the ghouls. But this is action 2. Okay, 2, and I'll toss in one of my +2 fights so I can take out a Ghoul and the Abomination. Action 3, I'll move Sylvanas in, and action 4, I'll fight those 2 ghouls that are still left there. Or just, we'll move the camera up a little bit. So we've got 2 Ghouls left at the Argent Tournament. Sylvanas hopefully will fix that. Sylvanas does fix those 2 Ghouls at the Argent Tournament. Okay. So it was looking pretty dire there for a while. But anyway, 2 cards from the hero deck we find. Another Defend, which I haven't been using those much, and a Heal. I'll toss one of my Defends because I was at my hand size. Anyway, 3 cards from the Scourge deck. So first up we find Ajol Narub gets a Ghoul. That's going to be a problem spot as well. Fortunately, it is a stronghold, though, so we can probably send Jaina to deal with it. Temple of Storms. And Thunderfall. So we've got a couple of problem spots, but nothing real dire right now. Especially since we haven't reshuffled the deck yet. Anyway, that will do it for Sylvanas. Now let's move back to Jaina. We're going to take this up top shot with Jaina. Action 1, she'll move to the stronghold at Ajol Narub. Action 2, she's going to rest. And she's healing +1 because of the stronghold. So she goes back up to 5 health, which is probably going to be enough for action 3 when we fight. Take out 2, get 1. Actually, we'll toss the fight. We'll toss the single fight to clear the space. So Ajol Narub is no longer a problem. That was action 3. Then I think for action 4, I'm going to have to, given the problem with having to cancel a rolled fist when we quest an Ulduar, I think we're going to have to land on that with everybody. Or with multiple heroes. So I think for action 4, Jaina's going to move back to the Breach, and then she's going to toss our travel card, which we can get it back with new allies, to move into Ulduar so that Liadrin can actually start working on, that quest. Anyway, that will do it for Jaina. Now let's see what we get from the player deck. A Defend, which is not something we've been using this game. And the Scourge Rises. Oh joy. We gotta move back up top to resolve that. Alright, first up, we advance out of the 3 section of the Scourge track. So now we're drawing 4 cards from the deck. Then we draw the bottom card of the Scourge deck. Warsong Hold gets 3 Ghouls. And the Lich King moves there. Then we shuffle this up, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 locations where we lose the game. And remember, we're drawing 4 cards from the Scourge deck. So we do need to be very mindful of that. So we have 4 whammies that we're trying to avoid here. Card 1. Vault of Archivon is not a whammy, but it will be next time we shuffle the deck, unless we deal with it before then. Card 2. Argent Tournament is also not a whammy, right on top of Sylvanas. Card 3. Gundrak is not a whammy. It was a whammy for quite a while. And card 4. Temple of Storms is not a whammy either. Sorry, I didn't mean to jar the camera there again. So somehow we ducked that, but I don't know how long we're going to duck it for because we still got all of our whammies deep in the deck. Then we would activate Abominations, only there should be one on Warsong Hold, and we'll send that after Sylvanas. So up to River's Heart that goes. Anyway, that will do it for Jaina. Now we go down to Liadrin. Ultimately, I think we're just prolonging the inevitable here, but we're gonna keep playing. So we're actually going to use new allies to grab up to 2 cards from the hero discard pile into the hand. What I want right now are travel cards. So we're going to grab the one that lets me move up to... Actually, do we have cards in here that let me... Do we have multiples that let me move up to 4 spaces? There's 1, and there's 2. One of which we're immediately going to use to move Liadrin down to Gundrak. Now action 1 will be to fight, so we'll bring the Dice Tower into shot. Now that the Lich King's gone, we're no longer +1 damage. Clear everything in Gundrak, very nice. Action 2 will move to Thunderfall. Action 3 will run the attack back. Position the Dice Tower there. Clear 1. Actually, we'll just clear the space. I hate to toss a fight for this, but I think we have to. So we clear the space. Then I'll travel back to Ulduar. That was action 3. Then I'll travel back to Ulduar. Actually, you know what might be a better play? Actually, no. I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. So we'll travel, actually, from Thunderfall 1 to... Okay, never mind. I can't get to Valgard from Thunderfall in 4 moves. It'll take me 1 more. I don't think I can get to... Actually, I can get to Wormrest Temple, which might be what I do, just to try to... Yeah, I can get to Wormrest Temple in that. Then we try to fight the... So we're down in shot. I brought Liadrin down to Wormrest Temple. So action 4 will run that fight back. Give us another space that we can... Give us another safe space, essentially. I can use the flight point to get back to the breach. Yowza. So Liadrin ends up taking 1 from that. That did not work the way I wanted it to. Anyway, 2 cards from the player deck. We find a fight, which lets us add 1 fist to a fight action on your space. And another defend, which we haven't been using at all this game. And now we draw cards from the Scourge deck. And we're still in peril because we still have 4 dangerous spaces. We still have 4 spaces that just end the game. Card 1. Ulduar is not one of them. Card 2. Wormrest Temple is one of them, and we were trying to clear that out. So we advanced down to the bottom of the despair track, and we have lost the game. So let's move back up top to wrap this video up. So we did manage to make a fight of it toward the end there, but as you can see, the despair track did advance down to the bottom, which means we've lost the game. That fight card came up basically a moment too late, so I wasn't able to use it on Wormrest Temple. But anyway, that will do it for this playthrough of World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King Pandemic. Next week, we're going to start a new campaign on the channel, but we're not stepping back into the background campaign for Massive Darkness. We're also not starting a campaign in Arkham Horror the card game, although we are going to be starting something I like to call Christmas in Arkham. I'll explain more about what that's going to entail during the week. For now, thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.